India's next president is going to be woman tribal leader Droupadi Murmu. She is all set to occupy the top constitutional post in the country. The NDA candidate has shown a clear edge over the opposition's Yashwant Sinha in the counts. Remember, voting for the presidential polls concluded on Monday with over 99% of eligible electors participating in the process. So what will be the impact and the effect really of this kind of a candidate, and what does the voting pattern tell us about the strength of the NDA politically as well? To speak on this, I'm joined now by Rasheed Kidwai, political commentator, and Sanjeev, Srivastava, political commentator. I'm also going to be speaking to them about the big political story of the day, which is Sonia Gandhi being called to the enforcement directorate for questioning, and all of the protests that have taken place over this by Congress workers around the country. So welcome to both of you, and thank you so much for speaking with us today. Sanjeev, let me begin with your take. Now, the choice or the nomination of presidential candidate is usually one which symbolizes something. It's about representation. Do you think that the kind of support we've seen for Droupadi Murmu, over and above the 49, close to 50% that the NDA already had, is also because of what she represents?
Oh, yes, of course. That's definitely the case. Nobody can fault Droupadi Murmu's candidature. Everybody has to fall in line. Even the people who are opposing her candidature and calling it a battle of ideology can take no exception to her as a person. She has a textbook kind of a CV. She comes from a very poor, rural, ordinary, tribal background, a village girl, how she rose to the ranks on her own merit by her own work. First a teacher, then counselor, then MLA, and then minister, governor. So it's a classic story of empowerment, of a woman empowerment, of somebody from the lowest ranks of the society rising today to the topmost post in the country, #1 constitutional post. So again, it gives all the reasons, many of them rightly, to the BJP to talk about how India is a beautiful democracy, a classic example of how anybody can rise to the topmost constitutional post. And so that's Droupadi Murmu. And it's also a political masterstroke, because a number of people who, there are so many parties which are now supporting her candidature, a number of regional parties, including BJD, from where she comes, Odisha. They would have had to they may have ultimately still voted for the NDA candidate. But Droupadi Murmu's candidature has given everybody that, I wouldn't say thick leaf, but a very solid reason to go and support an NDA candidate.
In fact, you had a Congress leader from Odisha also saying that he is going to vote for Droupadi Murmu because, she represents his state as well. But I want to come to what this says about opposition unity. The reason that the opposition got into this fight and Yashwant Sinha got into this political fight, I had the chance to speak with him also when he filed his candidature, Rasheed Kidwai, was to prove a point that the opposition parties could come together. They wanted to apply, some pressure. They claim we don't want a rubber stamp in Rashtrapati Bhavan. So that seems to have failed. And then their candidate for vice president in Margaret Alva also doesn't seem to be smooth sailing. The TMC has come out and said that we will not back her.
Yes, Tamanna. Actually, when the presidential election build-up started, the NDA had 49% plus votes, and so theoretically speaking, there was the equal number of non-NDA votes was there, which is part of UPA and non-NDA, non-UPA constituents. But today, when results are coming out, you will see that there is 75% or 80% support for NDA and just 20% against. So this tells you a story, and this story is not going to end now. It will continue till 2024. You see the picture of Yashwant Sinha filing nomination, where Shiv Sena and JMM were part of it. And by the time this voting took place, both parties were missing, and they had they declared their support to Droupadi Murmu. So this tells you the opposition is far from organized. There was no heart in it. I mean, in none of those campaigns you saw Rahul Gandhi or Sonia Gandhi, even in the meetings that were held for selection of presidential and non-presidential candidate among the opposition ranks, the Gandhis were missing. So this tells you that there was something wrong. But I'm all for contest. I mean, the people are making a huge case about, the symbolism of in terms of optics. The Droupadi Murmu's candidature looks very promising and good. We have had several presidents, but that didn't mean that, we have two Dalit presidents. We have had three Muslim presidents and all, but that did improve kind of socio-economic conditions of those people that they were sought to be representing. So I am I have a grave doubt. I always keep telling people, Tamanna, that in 1982 to 87, we had a, Sikh president, Gyani Zail Singh, and look what happened in Punjab. I mean, things, deteriorated so much that even, Prime Minister was assassinated. So we need to take these things with a, pinch of salt.
Okay. So the representation is largely symbolic, but yes, perhaps there is a message that is going across to women, to those from tribal communities. But that's not the only big political story of the day that we're going to discuss. The Enforcement Directorate today recorded Sonia Gandhi's statement in the National Herald money laundering case. The questioning went on for around 2 hours. The Congress party has questioned the ED's motive behind summoning Rahul and Sonia Gandhi multiple times in the case. Congress workers took to the streets across India to protest the central agency. Reports emerged of police resorting to water cannons to disperse the mobs. In Delhi, protesters blocked 3 trains at the Shivaji Bridge railway station. Sonia Gandhi says such tactics won't scare her.
The government has tried to target Mrs. Gandhi and Rahulji, and the blatant misuse of these agencies is something that is going to be very dangerous for our country, for our democracy, and in the time to come, people will realize this blatant abuse of authority, this blatant misuse of CBI and ED, income tax, etc. is something that's uncalled for. And इस केस में तो कोई FIR नहीं है, कोई केस नहीं है, जानबूझ के political opponents को दबाने की कोशिश की जा रही है, and we will face it politically, we'll face it whatever they want to do, but the entire country is watching how the government of India is absolutely hell-bent upon muzzling the voice of the Congress party and its leadership, and we are fully prepared to take on any challenge.
अगर गांधी परिवार बेदाग है तो अब बेहाल क्यों? अगर गांधी परिवार ने भ्रष्टाचार नहीं किया तो हंगामा क्यों? आखिरकार भारत के नागरिकों से अगर किसी ने भ्रष्टाचार किया हो उससे पूछताछ करना जांच एजेंसियों का काम है, तो क्या गांधी परिवार के लिए कानून अलग से बने? ये हंगामा किस बात का? आखिरकार अगर गांधी परिवार के पास और कांग्रेस पार्टी के पास छिपाने के लिए कुछ ना हो तो हंगामा करने की जरूरत नहीं। तिलमिलाहट क्यों है? घबराहट क्यों है? छटपटाहट क्यों है? ये कहीं ना कहीं दिखाता है कि दाल में कुछ ना कुछ काला है या पूरी दाल ही काली है।
All right, Rasheed, Kidwai and Sanjeev Srivastava with us to discuss these political developments. Rasheed, just your comment on what Anurag Thakur is saying over there, and which is essentially the BJP line, that if there's nothing to worry, then why all of these protests, why all the concern?
Amanda, because of the way Enforcement Directorate has been functioning, as per parliamentary record, there have been more than 2,500 such cases, and the rate of the conviction was less than 1%, or just 16 people were convicted. So what about the honor and dignity of those people, of 2,000 plus people who were raided? Second thing is, you see, the process cannot be a punishment. I mean, the ED ought to tell people, or for that matter the stakeholders, whether Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, are they an accused or are they a witness? So you would not get to know, and that's happening. And second thing is, which is a political point in nature, that most raids have taken place involving people who have some association with the opposition or part of opposition. How is it possible, Tamanna? We all know, my friend Sanjeev Srivastava is here. We have covered decades in political life. So if there is corruption, then corruption is not a one-way traffic. It's a political system which is largely corrupt. So how is it that every accused in the eyes of ED and other agencies happens to be from the opposition rank? These are the questions that need to be answered.
Sanjeev Srivastava, so the opposition, and the opposition has come together on this. You've had Shiv Sena leaders as well, at least Uddhav camp, Shiv Sena leaders, RJD, etc., all come out and speak in support of Sonia and making the claim that the ED and other central agencies are being used to target the opposition. But it doesn't seem to politically make much difference to the BJP, isn't it?
What makes politically much difference to the BJP? They are so single-minded, so focused in what they want to do, and so they just go ahead and do it. What Rasheed Kidwai was just saying, if I can just take that a little further, it's not just that the opposition people are targeted or people close to opposition or opposition leaders, but just when they switch sides, they become clean. So, there were at least half a dozen Shiv Sena legislatures who moved with Eknath Shinde, who were on the radar of different agencies who are being investigated. Now you just wait and see. All those things will come to a complete end. So while one point has to be considered, everything which is wrong in terms of abuse or misuse of government agencies or machinery, all these things were somewhere started. That practice was started by the Congress party. But the BJP NDA has taken it to a different level, different zone altogether. So they abuse the system. The BJP has learned the trick so well that it has bettered it 100x, so to say. So what used to be the oddity or the odd thing has now become a kind of a practice. And it has become such a practice that people have even started not to notice it any further, because you get immune to things. Everybody knows that if a particular leader is being
Sanjeev,
targeted,
no sympathy today, do you think, for Sonia Gandhi? I just noticed the kind of pictures and response which came in today versus when Rahul Gandhi was called to the enforcement directorate a few days ago. And the fact that, she's 75 and she's ailing seems to have, at least with Congress workers, struck a chord.
That's the other important point. That, okay, so the law must take its own course. But there have been a obscene number of incidents, including with Congress leaders, not many years back in this regime, when the ED or investigating agencies have gone to the home and recorded the statement of the witness or accused or whatever. They could have at least accorded that civility to Sonia Gandhi. Why make this huge spectacle? And so, as I was in Delhi today, I did go to AICC headquarters and was there watching what is happening. Yes, there is angst, but where is the public outpouring? The Congress also, the Congress organized everything. There was protest in the parliament. There was protest out at the Congress headquarters in different state capitals where Congress has little influence. But unfortunately, or whatever, the masses, the public, maybe in these big cities, people have become immune or indifferent, but there's no outpouring or feeling of unrest or even that talk conversation, because we just see now such things virtually every week, if not every day.
So Rasheed, Kidwai, we're immune, and maybe it's helping the BJP vote base, who looks at it as a cleanup operation.
Yes, Tamanna, there is political dividend. That is why these things are, are happening or allowed to happen. But to marshal this argument that, because the Congress had done it umpteen time, after all, Mr. Modi had promised a very different, set of governance. And that's why people voted for him. If he's just going to get into what others say, politics of vendetta and all, I think, it's been taken note of. And some of the results, municipal elections, etc., are showing that. So there is... Mr. Modi must realize that, what happened in 1977 when Indira Gandhi was hounded and targeted, and she staged a great comeback. Today, the situation is not similar at all, but there can be something that can trigger this thing. Remember, we are a constitutional democracy. There is rule of law. So everything, we have a rule, as a cardinal law, that a person is innocent unless proved otherwise. Now it's been reversed. So this is something that at least civil society should take a note of it.
If Mrs. Gandhi, Indira Gandhi, was around today, she would have learned a great lesson. What is the need to declare an emergency? Then you suffer once you declare an emergency, and then you lift it. Then there is suffering. you don't have to declare one. That is what a lot of opposition leaders now feel that way.
All right. Thank you so much. As always, Sanjeev, Srivastava and Rasheed Kidwai for joining us today on the show and breaking down the big political stories of the day.